start from the left and keep going across. So, first a hand on the left. There.
Something that's been kicked around on the forums a lot is the idea of having a lot more low sec in between the main high sec areas. Is that something you would consider doing? I think it's very
the idea of changing the distribution of security in enterprise space, if you because low sec is kind of nominally owned by various actions, the whole of enterprise space low sec and high sec. The idea of changing that security distribution comes up a little bit, and specifically the idea about creating more low sec barrier zones between the high sec. So just for the sake of an example, we're creating a larger low sec corridor between Amar and Mint or coloring or whatever it may be. That comes up quite a lot. I mean, we're not specifically thinking about that at the moment, but it's certainly something that's kind of comes up quite a lot. It gets suggested every now and again on the forums, and it's something that as we maybe move towards more world shaping, possibly in the future, there may be potential for that.
Wouldn't it choke trade?
That's obviously a thing we'd have to weigh up is how much trade would make for trip, how much would it affect prices if regional trade is a problem. Sorry?
It would isolate markets?
It would isolate markets. At the moment there's a kind of a very close coupling between GDO and the other hubs. They tend to follow quite quickly.
It's like most of the time it's just not worth going for any other than GDO guaranteed everything you want.
Yeah. We do have slightly better world shaping tools now with the stuff we did with Vera for changing and adding zone systems. So yeah, maybe it's a thing you can do with other things.
There's the potential if you're there again. What it would do is it would make the clever trader, the skilled trader, the experienced trader would have potential for higher profits. Maybe they know how to use wormholes to effectively bypass low sec, that kind of thing. So there's balances to it, and there's definitely, that's one of the economic impact is definitely something we'd have to look at carefully.
Yeah, on a related note to that, like the northeast of Kalari space, for an example, so a thin sliver, a couple of low sec systems spreading out into node. But what about expanding that? I mean, that few systems, make it more, give more room for people to actually live in those regions. Because one, it's pretty hard to get to if you're from, it makes a nice fun low sec pocket for the people that live there.
Yeah.
But it's hard for them to interact with other people, because actually getting there without doing the whole huge trip to node is somewhat, for better work, but
yeah.
It's a very small isolated pocket. Maybe expanding some of the small isolated pockets.
I mean, the last time that was done was Black Rise, when faction warfare didn't have enough ROSEC in that region.
Yeah.
I don't know about specifics of geography of one place over another. Yeah, if we did it, we would try to, I guess, add it in places, or add more of it in places that lacked it at the moment. Right, where did we go? So,
yeah, probably this kind of.
Yep.
Right. I tend to make boosters.
I'll come back. So, sorry, I missed the guy, but I'll come back to him after you. No, go on. You started.
Okay. I tend to make boosters as part of my trade within LoSec. But the whole booster mechanic, absolutely fascinating, great potential, and I don't know how many of you guys use boosters here, but it's quite poorly understood amongst the community.
Yep.
Things like the implementation, the use, the production. I've had people come to me and go, oh, I hear the side effects are permanent. Oh, I heard that I can never jump in my carrier again. There's some very odd things that people then glean from the use of boosters. Would it be possible to revisit booster trade and industry as a whole, possibly add some more? I'll give you an example of the slot mechanic, where there's 3 booster slots.
Yep.
So you've got 4 boosters for one, 3 for another, and then a missile booster on the third. There doesn't seem to be a particularly well implemented mechanic that's been visited since it was drawn into the game.
Part of the new player experience, having an opportunity to take some drugs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I very much agree with your last sentence that it's well, I mean, you said it, it's a poorly built mechanic that hasn't been touched for a long time. Entirely true. Yeah.
I mean, that's the core of it. It was just put out there and it hasn't been touched for a long time. There is actually some appetite for revisiting boosters. There's some appetite for visiting the whole contraband system. And there's definitely some appetite, if I've just finished, some appetite for revisiting how boosters are manufactured, because it's possibly the most convoluted manufacturing process in it.
So yeah, is it something that you'd rather rebuild from the ground up, or would you
Um,
the existing system?
I'm not sure I can answer the question. There may be value in rebuilding it from the ground up. I don't know, without having actually looked at it. One of those things like Crimewatch, probably a more complicated issue. Actually, had to be delved into. We have to refamiliarize ourselves with it before we can answer that kind of thing. Maybe, maybe not.
Production-wise, again, personally, the production itself isn't too much of an issue, but possibly things like the sourcing. You've got the majority of the main source
The
in
clouds,
LoSec.
yeah.
There's very little in LoSec
Right.
to focus on with regards to the trade itself.
Yeah.
And it just seems to me to be a dirty, horrible, pirate, scammy trade, as opposed to null, where, okay, you know, if you follow the law, there would be less harvesting of those. Even then, it's so specific and so isolated that there's just no scope really for a large trade understanding.
Yeah, I think coming back to your point about the unfamiliarity, I think that's because it's a relatively obscure system that for the reasons you're describing, a lot of people just don't come into contact with, and therefore these rumours and myths about it grow up as you described. So
Yep.
Yes, Crimewatch suspects and kill right question.
Okay.
I like going off and getting kill rights on myself so that way people can go off and activate them and, well, get themselves blown up. But one of the issues is that I've been told by a number of people they never get to see my kill rights, that either they don't realize the little crosshair box on me, or they just flat out never even see it show up in the UI. One of the things I was curious about is could the kill rights be made something more visible on me, like maybe go ahead and make me have like a box or a ring around me that's basically saying, hey, this guy's done a bad thing. Somebody wants him dead, and you can kill him. This is something that goes and has it so I'm more visible and can be killed. Or not.
They didn't just fix it showing up on you.
There is
About
some
2 years it was very spotty.
Yeah.
But now it shows up and you see all the people that are farming it every day.
So I know, Karka did some stuff on the overview implementation and the bracket usage of it, which hopefully will fix up the it should show up but doesn't case. As to whether that is enough.
I'll show up as green. Just make this all green who have kill rights saying, green, money, go and shoot me.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe we'll with this change we might let that sort of settle down and just see how the usage, if it moves it at all, and if we need to make it a more visible feature. I don't know if we do or not really. Do we think this should be made more visible?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Potentially.
Maybe.
Okay, so we don't.
I think I would talk to Kirk about it. Probably.
Yeah.
But I take the point.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's carry on going to the right. Yep.
I have no specific question, just wondering if you have considered taking, in HiSec at least, taking NPCs more out, removing them from their current roles as kind of like drug interdictor, for example, for the drug producer over here, and faction policing, either realigning the roles, making them stronger or weaker, or completely removing those roles altogether from them and replacing with user-based mechanics.
Are you talking about NPCs in?
Well, the faction police or the customs police.
Yes. The custom space are a common one that we would like to do many more interesting things with. On the one hand, some of the things we talked about with Crimewatch when we were doing it, some of the ideas were to let players scan them, and if you find somebody with contraband, you can flicker thing, and then that flags them as suspect, and then maybe you get some kind of reward if you take them down. The other thing that comes up is actually just making the NPCs do more intelligent things. I think with this will be probably a space splitter thing with a new NPC AI. There's all sorts of ideas for better NPCs that will scan you and smack talk you and sort of chase you down if you're carrying something, even across systems, like the same NPC kind of following you around.
Is it a Blackboard system?
Yeah, it lets us do a hell of a lot more interesting things, so I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing more use of that.
Yep. One of the things that's been discussed about this, so no promises, but one of the things you've probably noticed us doing recently is when a system is kind of just bad and blocking things and being really annoying, and we don't have a ready replacement, like ready to go, we kind of just remove the blocker in the meantime, while saying that we'll upgrade the cost of clones, for instance. So we've discussed the possibility of actually, until we have a better system in place, just kind of removing the legality system from you, so you'd be able to put drugs into contracts and like wouldn't have to worry about like that system that's just kind of annoying people rather than having a good function would get removed. What do you guys think of that idea? Hands up if you think that's a good idea.
Yeah. There's so many random things that are on the list, and there doesn't seem to be an obvious reason why they're there, and there isn't anything explaining why they're there either.
Particularly drugs in contracts, I think. Incredibly annoying.
Yep. So again, no promises, but that's something we've been thinking about. We might do at some point. It's good to see that there's some positive reaction to the idea.
Yep.
If you set a kill right for sale, I think the basic ESK cost is 0. Could you set it to something like 5 million? I often have newbies that get ganked, supports get killed, and they talk to me and they're like, yeah, what have you done with the kill right? Yeah, I set it free, it's already gone. For how much? Yeah, 0, because it's basic. Maybe you should at least take a bit more because died in this new trick and nobody cared for it. So just let this 5 million a space cost. So the reflexive, okay, set it free return, maybe returns a little bit for the newbie and not 0, and the guy just killed himself in a new trick.
Yeah.
About capping the payout at the value of the ship that you're blowing up as well, because there's a lot of kill light exploiting going on. People put in their own alts, put a 2 billion kill light on their character, and then park outside a station and wait to be killed, or wait to have the kill light cash given to their alt.
Yeah, I mean that's just sort of getting into overlap territory with bounties at that point. But yeah, I can definitely see it's a tricky challenge. The way we had to solve it with bounties was to make the payout quite low, which isn't of course ideal, but is something at least. Yeah, so I can see potentially you need to update the kill right stuff.
Unrelated to this, and I missed the faction warfare setting earlier, so LoSec used to have a lot more bigger ships, specifically battle cruiser rogues were quite common.
Yep.
And that's specifically due to faction warfare really changed, and it's all pretty much LoSec is predominantly frigates. Would it be considered to change the minimum required for faction warfare plexus?
Yes,
so
we had this question actually this morning.
Oh, did you? Sorry, I missed it.
Yes, and the idea was, the short term of the answer was, yes, we might look at sort of maybe adding another level of site or tweaking those. It also depends a little bit on the outcome of C3 destroyers once that line is finished, and then we can sort of look as a whole across where those spectrum of ships fit in the different sizes.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
About 2003, 2004, it was possible in LoSec to ransom people. I really enjoyed that. It doesn't need to be money. Sometimes it was a poem or just for shit and giggles, sing for us on TeamSpeak.
Yep.
So now we have an EVE world which is so large that the chances that you see this person again is so slow that no one is going to pen ransoms anymore because they're thinking, oh, it's just a stranger, he will blow me up anyway. Is there a possibility to, let's say, create a system of mutual trust? If he pays me and I kill him, he will give me like a negative feedback, which could be seen. Yeah.
Did you enjoy your interaction with this pirate?
His customer.
So this is the kind of thing actually that sounds like an amazing third-party website.
Customer review. He was
more
not pleasant with my service.
Yeah.
Would you use the service again?
Or some
It-
kind of a de-aggro
Yeah, that could be exploited. So I'm just saying it's nothing that
But
will
you also want to be
stop.
able to, like, betray him and backstab him and still kill him.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'll answer this a little bit from my past because in a former life I was a low-sec pirate in a pirate corps, and we had a reputation of never ever dishonouring a ransom, and that was the thing we were known for. There was no, like, if you ever dishonoured a ransom, you were out. No prospect. And I think the game was. I don't know if there's any of the old Vito crew around at the moment, but if ever there was a person who disavowed a ransom, they were out, and I think the game is small enough that that reputation happened. I kind of see what you mean nowadays. Obviously, there's many more people that.
I'm not talking about something like preventing them shooting or an invulnerable timer, just like a note you can add to that person which says didn't. I know it's probably up for abuse and for a lot of.
It actually, like, it really sounds to me like something that it would be a great third-party kind of service rather than something to be in the client.
If there was some hook that we could kind of expose, less the.
It is kind of on E2. You can comment on people on E2, but I don't think people.
Yeah, that's the problem. If you've got somebody, or if you are tackled and scrambled, are you going to spend the time looking this guy up to see if he's going to be honourable?
What
Because
could
if you
actually be used here is if you could put this could work for, like, you can put notes on people for yourself. If you can put public notes and maybe even corp notes as well, that would be very useful. And
it also just, like, always be
your log just wouldn't be full of ASCII dicks.
We have to ban everyone. Yes. A button that is like calls Cribba's cell phone wherever you are. Yeah.
I think it's very complicated, but at least where there are, like, people sitting there thinking, it would be nice if we would give ransom people another chance, because right now.
Honestly, though, it's the moral character of pirates these days. It's just not what it used to be.
Yeah, I mean,
that's no problem. It's the moral decay. It's all the rap music and the movies, video games.
Nobody thinks for children.
How different he was even not that long ago. I was in Snigwaff and Sniggerly when you could get kicked out of those corps for dishonoring a ransom.
Fundraising, people smack talking local was prohibited. If you did it, you were flying. More than one way.
At least half the time, if I tried to ransom somebody, a falcon I told equal under 5 minutes, so it probably wouldn't work anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if there's much more we can say on that, but yeah, it'd be an interesting thing if we could figure out a way to do that. Okay, we'll do one last one and then we'll go across.
Just want to know if you've ever given any thought to a sort of mini sovereignty mechanic in low-sec where occupancy of low-sec systems might accrue some sort of benefits. You know, if you clearly live somewhere and you can staff it with 50 pilots plus all day, why not some sort of benefit for that?
Thought has definitely been put into it over the years.
Yeah. There was a mechanic that was trailed. I think the mechanic was trailed. Possibly the first Fanfest I ever went to when I was a player, and would have been 07, I think, by CCPO back then. It was a mechanic that was codenamed Corruption. It's this idea of pirate overlords in Los Angeles. But over the years, those kinds of things have come up. And like Viceroys was another thing, which was a more high-sec oriented one, where the empires would appoint viceroys who would be captured. But nothing concrete has ever really come out of those thoughts, to be honest.
Maybe something maybe you could put in as an alternative, like warfare influence?
Yeah, that's in certain areas. I mean, when an idea exists for this long, it usually, like, given enough time, it'll probably
Are you going to put the player build structures into low-sec, and that way, if you own a system, you could build it, and then you can.
So
there's scope for things like the TCU equivalent of saying this is our low-sec system, or smuggler gates and backdoor pirate gates and this kind of thing. huge potential with the new structure stuff. No specific ideas yet, but
Definitely a lot of those structures will be useful on low sec. The idea is that they'll